Coming soon to own on
YouTube and Twitch.
DVD.
Moon Knight would thrive in Gotham. Now, as a Batman glazer, I would have to say I absolutely agree with that. Moon Knight would definitely thrive in Gotham. Now, to put it in perspective, I don't know much about Moon Knight. What I do know is in some iterations he has powers, some he doesn't. His mind is being controlled by I think like 7 gods, but there's like one main god that that's in his subconscious. I think it's Khonshu or something like that. And he's like basically just depending on it, but like he has moon powers and stuff like that, depending on which iteration. That's really all much I know going about. I mean, going into it, that's all much. Like, damn, I can't fucking talk. Going into it, that's all I know about Moon Knight. Get straight into it.
Joker, your reign of terror on Gotham stops now.
Yes, my fist. Kill him.
No, Mark, if you kill him, you'll be just like him. Maybe you're right.
Mark, stop being a wimp. Kill him.
No, I'm not your puppet, Khonshu. Who are you talking to?
I mean, I'll do it.
Jason, how long have you been here? It doesn't matter. We're gonna put him in Arkham. That's right.
We aren't gonna do anything. Hey kid, you want a job?
Khonshu.
Oh shit.
Depends. What kind of benefits y'all got?
Don't do this. Who are y'all talking to?
0 benefits, but I can offer you a redesign. Trust me, you.
Oh my god, this is a terrible design. Oh my god, what were they thinking? The glove. I didn't read this comic, but like the glove ripped combo, this weak ass leather jacket. Why his pants set up so high? Nah, this design wasn't it, bro. You gotta go back to the drawing board with this one, man.
Need it.
Deal.
Oh, come on.
Moon Knight would thrive in Gotham. When I say that,
He would absolutely thrive in Gotham. I feel like Moon Knight is way stronger than like probably everything. Not everything, but like majority of villains, like way stronger than majority of villains in Gotham. But also, the majority of villains in Gotham are like human, like just base humans that are crazy.
I don't mean he'd beat all of Batman's rogues or that he would even beat most of them. I say that because Mark Spector is a lunatic who would have a field day in Gotham compared to what goes on in New York. Khonshu's thirst for vengeance is limitless, and in a city with Spider-Man, Daredevil, Punisher, Venom, and so many more.
Damn, nigga, what? Bruh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 heroes all in the same strip. And you telling me the city in New York still be under attack? Like, god damn, nigga, 25 heroes and the city of New York still be getting fried.
Heroes, there's only so much crime to stop, and more importantly for Khonshu, only so many bad guys to kill. However, Gotham is a shithole. It's canonically cursed to be that way. On almost every level of society, you got some kind of operation going, from Professor Pig cutting up people making Dollatrons, or Mad Hatter kidnapping girls, or yes, the big bad Joker doing whatever he can to impress Batman. There are literally dozens, if not over 100 named villains roaming around Gotham at any given time.
Yeah.
Since the Bat family is too busy fighting each other, Moon Knight would be like a kid in a candy store, just beating the fuck out of people.
Wait, hold on. Did I see a DC exclusive? I mean, a February exclusive character.
Villains roaming around Gotham at any given time. Since the Bat family
Is this the February exclusive character? Hold on, they leaking him early. Nah, bro, they need to do more with black characters, bro.
family is too busy fighting
Because ironically, he's the only one with powers, and he don't really be getting no shine for real. That's the crazy part.
each other, Moon Knight would be like a kid in a candy store, just beating the fuck out of people. Especially since every single shot of Gotham we see in almost every adaptation makes it look like the city is an eternal night. This is important because Moon Knight's whole job is to protect the travelers of the night. So if Gotham barely sees the sun, the criminals will never know peace. Now I know that for a lot of you, you're probably thinking I'm overrating Moon Knight, especially if you've only seen him in the MCU or maybe in a crossover comic. You'd think he's Punisher level.
Nah, but I heard a lot of people say In some iterations, he has powers like crazy strong powers, and some he just no like the MCU. He really doesn't have powers like that.
I am telling you, not only does Mark Spector wipe that fraud off the map with minimal efforts, I think he could get pretty far in Gotham. So first, I'll talk about the big hitters and how he tackled them, then I'll talk about the biggest problem Moon Knight will face. That's being Red Hood and Khonshu. Now,
Red
for
Hood.
Gotham's main antagonists that people think of when we're trying to clear the gauntlet, I'll be mostly using the older and the classic comics where Moon Knight is a lot more grounded. I do like when we can see Khonshu shine and give Mark more power, however, I think it's a lot cooler when Khonshu is this desperate small deity who relies so heavily on Moon Knight to be his fist, his priest, and his son. Avengers Age of Khonshu has Mark beating the dog shit out of Thor, and while it is fun, it's not what people think of when I say the name Moon Knight. I just have to put this disclaimer out there for the power scalers. Just like in the last two videos, Bane will always be the scariest guy to beat. While Joker has way more plot armor, Bane, when written well, is far more impressive. I'll go easy on Mark and use.
And the thing is about Bane, a lot of people they don't calculate. Bane is also smart, like very smart, just like Batman. So like he's strong with his smarts. So it's not just you have to like you can. It's not like you could just easily outsmart Bane or outpower him.
The regular version of Bane instead of the absolute, even though that guy is so fun. I will say Bane in the main DC universe is also fantastic. I shouldn't need to tell you how strong this guy is. Catman can barely make a dent in him, Bane can rip the heads off of Talon assassins, and the greatest scaling feat is how he broke the bats. Now, Tom King low-key nerfed him when Catwoman and Batman, both without any real gadgets, were able to whoop his ass. However, I still think physically he's more than enough to handle Moon Knight. Mark isn't a slouch either though. He's fought off Spider-Man, Daredevil, and so many more. He's even dogged the fuck out of US Agent. He gets like one frame here and he's done. Now, a lot of this is old, and Moon Knight would probably lose a fight to most superhumans nowadays. For example, when Moon Knight tried to fight Grey Hulk, he was very clearly outmatched and had to get saved by Sentry and Captain Marvel.
But Hulk, the thing is about Hulk, obviously stronger than Bane though. 'Cause you can't really. They're not the same level.
When it comes to Bane, what I'd be more interested in seeing is how these two interact when it comes to their principles. Most people who aren't big into comics see Bane as this oaf, a brute, someone incapable of thinking about his actions and how they are wrong. This is incorrect. Bane follows a strange set of beliefs that are hard to understand and are brutal in practice. If you've seen One Piece, he's a bit like Kaido. He's a much more introspective and sometimes sweet guy than people think he is. I want to pull from Secret 6 by Gail Simone because there are a few moments that make Bane a lot more complex to me. For one, Bane has a capacity for kindness if you can believe that. Gil writes him to be this really brutal and violent man who also has this father-like relationship with Scandal Savage. He says, "Scandal, you were allowed one ice cream of your choice," and she's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He says, "Just one." Then he gives her the ice cream and she's too tired to eat it, and he lets her take a nap on his lap. Bane in this book very much feels like a man with all the skills you'd need to be a great hero, but no drive or motivation to do so. We get more into his psyche and backstory later down the line in issue 34 when he's on a hot date. Bane talks about how he took his first life at the age of 9 and became a conqueror of men, and how he came to Gotham to conquer the peak of humanity, that being Batman. After he won, he said that Batman just got better and Bane just got worse. And while I won't spoil the ending of this great run, Bane goes right back to this mission to conquer Gotham because that's all he has. However, I believe in him there's a chance he can be turned not by Moon Knight, but by Khonshu, to give him purpose and faith, a higher calling to believe in. Bane is not a religious man, but he knows that hell exists, and that's where he's going. I think Khonshu could give him the deal of a lifetime, and he might even bench Mark if he has a star player in Bane. We will be talking more about Khonshu and how fickle he can be later on in the video. However, I do think he'd find Bane to be a very interesting specimen, perhaps a great left hand. I'm gonna spare my boy Mark and not talk about Absolute Joker and instead focus on the main
Hold on, I've been not catching up on the Absolute Universe. Don't tell me that's what Joker looks like.
I'm gonna spare my boy Mark and not talk about Absolute.
Holy shit. No way this would. Oh my god, Batman got it.
Joker and instead focus on the main universe Joker, and even then, Joker is still a bitch. He's
Fair.
the hardest guy to write for because he's either purely comedic relief or God himself. Now, I will say Mark, while not able to out crazy Joker, could definitely surprise him. Joker is accustomed to so many vigilantes who are limp-wristed when it comes to a more permanent solution, but Moon Knight does not play that. You bomb one hospital Joker and he's gonna kill you, no questions asked. Especially
100%.
since Khonshu will amp up Mark to do so. A lot of Joker stories revolve around this idea of a no-kill rule, and Moon Knight very easily can subvert that. There is no arguing with him because he has more faith in his god than he does in Batman's moral compass. Khonshu is very real and very angry, and Lord knows how he'd take it if Batman talked no jutsu's Mark into sparing Joker's life. I want to talk a bit about Joker and Moon Knight's intellect and their tech, their gadgets. If you've been watching my videos for a while now, you'd know how insane Joker's tech skills are. His elaborate traps and pranks and whatnot are often his own creation. I've rattled off the same few facts for a while, so forgive me if you've already heard these, but Joker is one of the greatest chemists out there, able to create his gas from common cleaning agents, and also able to simulate death so real Batman can't detect it. He's also able to mod police tech while on the run, and the most insane one for me is he disassembled and reassembled a nuclear warhead along with its launcher to carry it overseas and sell it to terrorists. I'm telling
Wow, I
you,
didn't
Death
even
in
know
the
that.
Family is fucking great, man. I love Joker's bullshit here. Now, Moon Knight is also far smarter than people give him credit for. I mean, he was a highly trained mercenary before the moon god snatched him from the afterlife. He was a marine before that as well. He has insanely good combat skills, stated to master almost every martial art there is. Moreover, he has mastered every weapon. So in a way, I see Moon Knight very similar to Ra's al Ghul, the pinnacle of every deadly art, constantly resurrecting himself to fight again. Now, when it comes to his tech, he has a lot. I believe Stephen Grant is a smart one, the personality who works on the tech stuff, but he has drones and aircraft and so much more. And without all the nonsensical plot armor Joker has, Moon Knight would kill him. He might die
Yeah,
first,
he
a few
would.
times maybe, but he'll just come back and try again until Joker dies. Khonshu would make sure of that. Scarecrow's
So if Moon Knight technically can't die, how do you stop him in general? Not even like Gotham, but how do you stop Moon Knight if he really can't die?
gas is probably the worst thing for the average vigilante to randomly encounter. It works fast, is really hard to counteract, and more importantly, it makes you a danger to everyone around you. Mark Spector, however, has the blessing of Khonshu, and as we see in the 2014 run, which we will get into later since it's so fantastic, Moon Knight is able to call upon Khonshu to guide him, help him see the truth even when it's not there. In the final issue of this great run, Mark encounters this woman who says she's a follower of Khonshu, but Mark is certain that she's actually perverting his ways. She poisons him and he is at her mercy, on his knees, begging for Khonshu to show him the way. And even though Khonshu is such a useless prick sometimes, he pulls through and guides his hand, letting it connect with the evil priestess, and her little bug guys disappear. Scarecrow would undoubtedly get destroyed. Not only am I
Yeah,
not
that's
sure
true.
how Mark's psyche would react to his fear toxin, but also I don't think it matters. He was
I think the fear toxin will probably make his head like just be normal. Yeah, he'll stop hearing like he'll still hear all the gods. I don't think it really changed much.
already insane and is fought through illusions, hallucinations, whatever you want to call it. I think he'd truly have no real problem as long as his faith in Khonshu does not waver. While the rest of Gotham's rogues are either complete fodder for Moon Knight, like Two-Face or Penguin, some are just impossible for him to beat without his random bullshit go move, like Clayface, Poison Ivy, etc. I will
Yeah.
say though, the thing that is
Is Poison Ivy really a Batman rogue?
Moon Knight's greatest strength, his faith, can also be his greatest weakness. Let's talk about the biggest obstacle Moon Knight would face in Gotham. The biggest problem Mark Spector and Moon Knight could ever face is Khonshu himself. If you're a Moon Knight fan, you know Khonshu is a bitch. I mean, we see how this guy manipulates Mark in almost every way he can, all for his relentless pursuit of vengeance towards those who would harm night travelers. Even if you know nothing about the comics, at the end of Moon Knight Season 1, we see how Khonshu has to exploit the mental illness in Mark to continue his service. However, Khonshu has had other priests in his service before, and after Mark, he'll have more. The question is, who in Gotham could replace Moon Knight? The first and most obvious replacement for Mark Spector would be Red Hood. He is Batman without the no-kill rule, and depending on the time period, he's also incredibly vulnerable. When you go back and read Jason Todd as Robin, he already felt unsure of Batman's principles and his way of going about things. I look towards Batman 424, where we have Jason Todd get revenge on this rapist and abuser. Khonshu would undoubtedly appreciate that, where Batman doesn't. After Jason dies in the arms of Batman, I could see this alternate reality where he becomes the Fist of Khonshu. All of his amazing skills, combat ability, and raw strength used to protect the Night Travelers of Gotham. Now, the biggest problem with Red Hood,
I don't
and
oppose to
really
that.
a lot of Gotham's lethal vigilantes like Clown Hunter or even Ghostmaker, is that they have no faith, not in the system, not in Batman's morality, and absolutely not in a higher power. Mark Spector, for all of his faults, will always turn to Khonshu for guidance. I spoke about how he trusted Khonshu when he was poisoned before in issue 17 of Moon Knight.
And Jason Todd lost his faith the day Joker killed him, so he'll never actually turn to Khonshu faith. He'll just use him. Oh, that's why it wouldn't work.
2014. What I didn't mention are the issues before, where he has this crisis of faith. Khonshu tells Mark to stay away from this creature attacking children in the night, but of course Mark couldn't. And knowing Jason, he would tell Khonshu to go fuck himself. However, when Mark realizes that the creature is connected to Khonshu and that the evil priestess is too, he trusts in his faith. And even though he might not be able to comprehend what is happening, Khonshu will guide him out of it. And to Khonshu's credit, he does. Jason would not trust Khonshu here. I could not imagine a universe where the world's greatest detective raises a son who does not question a very strange coincidence here. Why does this creature call out for Khonshu? Why does the evil priestess? We aren't meant to know, it is up to the gods. A detective, however, would not stop there, but a priest like Mark Spector does. He steels himself and lets his faith guide him. Hugo Strange is a Batman villain I haven't spoken to much about. I wish I could say I've read more of his comics, but I haven't. What I do know is this dude is cunning. He has a very keen understanding of psychology to the point where he can completely transform this docile scarecrow into a powerful adversary all for his machinations. He has a willingness to kill, dressing up as Batman and murdering a man in his sleep. Most importantly, he has the same obsessive and ruthless attributes we can see in Khonshu. Now, I want to tell you about a great arc from Moon Knight 2014. I know I've been talking about it a lot, but man is it good. 3 creative teams and they all managed to make some great shit. In issue 9 of Moon Knight 2014, we see Mark and his doctor. Previously, she had organized a hit on this East African general, someone who haunts her childhood. Mark is here to understand why, and she's here for other reasons. They begin the hypnosis session and are transported to Egypt. He is comfortable here, in his Khonshu armor. She questions him about it, but we can see she already knows who Khonshu is, the defender of night travelers, the one who lives on hearts. Mark realizes that she knows a lot more than she led him to believe, and he calls her out on it. She of course deflects, saying he is the one wearing a mask here, and he cuts to the chase, transporting them to General Lore's home, the man who killed her family. This place, this time, is when her family was killed in a raid, or really a massacre. She recounts her tale of how she heard stories of General Lore, how he was quote-unquote a freedom fighter, and while she's gathering water, she can hear her mother's voice reminding her to come home before dark, so she begins to carry the water back home, but we can see the militia is going to get there first. Moon Knight is sympathetic as he remembers the news about the Akima War. However, it's ancient history now, and the country is disarmed, building schools, and will be recognized by the UN soon. Mark says there is no need for street justice here. She replies, so says the vigilante, which is a good point. Mark has a very fast and loose definition of justice. Who is he to judge her? She takes him to the village during the raid. We can see machetes covered in blood, flames spreading all around, and gunfire. She takes him to other conflict zones so we can see the same stories being told in the same bloody way all over the world. There are consequences when you let men like General Lore run free. She questions Mark if he is the only one who will protect the Night Travelers. Mark tries to tell her they can work to expose General Lore, but she distracts him by pointing out how right now General Lore will pull the trigger, killing her mother and her sister. Moon Knight tries to stop him, but when she goads him to finish the job, to kill this man, he snaps out of it, back to Egypt, back to being Mark. He tells her he won't be turned, convinced, or brainwashed like her sniper. She calls him a hypocrite. He says it's different now. General Lore put his machete away decades ago, and this is a distant dream. Mark finishes by saying what he thinks is her goal. You can't recruit me. She simply says, I know that. You're not the one I'm recruiting. As they look up to the statue of Khonshu, she continues, surprised? You thought you were in control of this, didn't you? as Mark kneels on the ground, a man whose faith has betrayed him, whose God has turned his back on him again. She rubs salt in the wound, saying, "You lost the moment you even decided to pay me a visit, arrogant man." Mark is still in disbelief. "You can't do this. Khonshu is me, and I am Khonshu." She doubts that, and tells Mark to show her that bone armor of his, but when he looks down, he can only see the outfit he came here in, and when he looks up, he can see the armor of Khonshu donned upon her. She simply says, "Looks like someone made a change. Khonshu's going with a winner now, not some damaged man who can't decide whether or not to save a little girl from a murderous warlord. Goodbye, Mr. Spectre," and we see Mark fall into a void shaped like a crescent moon.
Damn, so he just got his chain snatched just like that?
Man, this isn't even the end of the issue, but I really think you guys should read it. It is such a good example of how a Moon Knight, while powerful, draws his power from a deity, one that is hard to understand and, more importantly, not impossible to manipulate. If you read the next few issues, you'll see how her careful wording, machinations, and overall cunning nature allows her to become an avatar of Moon Knight in one session. Imagine what a man like Hugo Strange could do. We've already seen how obsessive he could be when it comes to donning on the Batman costume. I think he'd lose his mind if he could not only wear the costume of Moon Knight, but have the favor of a god and all the powers that come with that. If you take anything from this video, I hope it's that Moon Knight is an incredibly complex and amazing character with almost no bad runs. I made this video because someone requested for a Moon Knight analysis, and I am so glad they did because now I love this character so much, man. I love characters like Daredevil, Nightcrawler, and yes, Moon Knight, who grapple with faith, prayer, and devotion in their own unique ways. Even though Mark is far more brutal and violent than the others, he has a lot of tender moments in the 2014 run, and I am currently reading the 2016 Jeff Lemire run, and then the Jed McKay stuff. So stay tuned for part 2 because there is so much more to talk about. I also wanted to talk about Moon Knight's Jewish faith more, but it didn't fit in a video like this. If you'd like a more in-depth video about his history, his rabbi father, and his complicated relationship with his faith to an Egyptian deity, let me know in the comments below. Another big shout out to my members.
With that being said, that was Moon Knight Would Thrive in Gotham. I learned a lot about Moon Knight in this video. Learned a lot about Khonshu and like how Khonshu is. I'm not gonna lie, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like that Moon Knight 2014 run is probably the best body of work Moon Knight got out there. He kept referring to it. Obviously, I agree with him. Like he would I wouldn't say more than majority. Moon Knight would definitely beat Batman's rogues in Gotham. But I like how he also did hypotheticals of like Khonshu moving on to a different like priest or a different host body from Mark. You know, it's kind of iterate that like Mark is the reason why Mark is the perfect specimen for Khonshu. But you know, let me know how y'all feel about that down below. With that being said, I'll see y'all boys later, dude.
I'm not trying to score. Your heart's an open door. I got the key. I'm trying to keep composure and some more. I know you want some more. Oh, oh. Can your body hear me? Want you to feel me?